Welcome to Conk's Corner, the show where I marry a frog and live happily ever after. But really, I'm reading Harry Potter. And I'm reading all the books for the first time. I've never read them before. Please don't spoil anything in the chat or comments, because it has been my delight to experience every story point for the first time and have people just be part of it. I really enjoyed it. I just worked. I just had a Zoom class that I taught, and it ended early, so we can start the day on time. Nice cardigan. Thank you very much. I like it. I like the cardigan. So last time we had the big meeting between Voldemort and Dumbledore, I guess, before Voldemort unleashed his full evil and went there and didn't try to hide anything anymore. Dumbledore said how important it is for Harry to find out what Slughorn taught, or exactly how he taught these Horcruxes to Voldemort. The memory that Slughorn vanished and replaced, actually. And that is crucial to understand what Voldemort is up to. Yeah. Oh, Dexter's playing with the ball. He's in a playful mood. So that was the last thing that happened. And he said this is his full mission. So we're at chapter 21, The Unknowable Room. First of all, I'm not going to forget it this time. I'm not gonna forget it. And not this time. Okay, got a pink one today. Let's see if there's any better. Eh? Kinda works. It looks more purple than pink, hey? But whatever, it works. It works out. I also have a glass of wine today. In a while. But I got some wine and some water. So, let's get started, shall we? I'm going to put on the reading music. Chapter 21. The reading room. And then they read in a room for 6 hours. End of chapter. Fruit fly because of the wine. Harry racked his brains over the next week as to how he was to persuade Slughorn to hand over the true memory. But nothing in the nature of a brainwave occurred, and he was reduced to doing what he did increasingly these days when at a loss, poring over his potions book, hoping that the prince would have scribbled something useful in a margin, as he had done so many times before. It looks like Umbridge tried to kill you as a baby. Ha ha ha! Nice. You won't find anything in there, said Hermione firmly, late on Sunday evening. Don't start, Hermione, said Harry. If it hadn't been for the prince, Ron wouldn't be sitting here now. He would if he just listened to Snape in our first year, said Hermione dismissively. Harry ignored her. He had just found an incantation. Sectum Sepra! That's what it's called. Scrawled in a margin above the intriguing words, "For enemies." Was itching to try it out, but thought it best not to in front of Hermione. Instead, he surreptitiously folded down the corner of the page. Why would you just randomly try it? You don't even know what it could do. It could have totally kill somebody. And make sure the Slughorn didn't port for you, John. Right. Quickly, somebody put an asparagus in my mouth. Or whatever that was. What did he put in his mouth again? They were sitting beside the fire in the common room. The only other people still up were fellow sixth years. There had been a certain amount of excitement earlier when they had come back from dinner to find a new sign on the notice board that announced the date for their apparition test. Those who would be 17 on or before the first date, the 21st of April, had the option of signing up for additional practice sessions, which would take place, heavily supervised, in Hogsmeade. Ron had panicked on reading this notice. He had still not managed to apparate, and feared he would not be ready for the test. Hermione, who had now achieved apparition twice, was a little more confident. But Harry, who would not be 17 for another 4 months, could not take the test whether ready or not. At least you can apparate, though, said Ron tensely. You'll have no trouble come July. I've only done it once, Harry reminded him. It finally managed to disappear and rematerialize inside his hoop during their previous lesson. We need that as an emoji in Discord. An asparagus? For sure. Having wasted a lot of time worrying aloud about apparition, Ron was now struggling to finish a viciously difficult essay for Snoop that Harry and Hermione had already completed. Harry fully expected to receive low marks on his because he had disagreed with Snape on the best way to tackle Dementors, but he did not care. Slughorn's memory was the most important thing to him now. Good, Harry. Very, very, very good. Very good. I'm telling you, the stupid prince isn't going to be able to help you with this, Harry, said Hermione more loudly. There's only one way to force someone to do what you want, and that's the Imperius Curse, which is illegal. Yeah, I know that. Thanks, said Harry, not looking up from the book. That's why I'm looking for something different. Dumbledore says Veritaserum won't do it, but there might be something else. A potion or a spell. You're going about it the wrong way, said Hermione. Only you can get the memory, Dumbledore says. That must mean you can persuade Slughorn where other people can't. It's not a question of slipping him a potion. Anyone can do that. How do you spell belligerent? Said Ron, shaking his quill very hard while staring at his parchment. It can't be B-U-M. What? What? Ron isn't that dumb. How do you spell belligerent? B-U-M? What? That doesn't make sense. No, it isn't, said Hermione, pulling Ron's essay toward her. And augury doesn't begin with O-R-G either. What kind of quill are you using? It's one of Fred and George's spell-checking ones. I think the charm must be wearing off. Yes, it must, said Hermione, pointing at the title of his essay. Because we were asked how we deal with Dementors, not Doug Boggs. I don't remember you changing your name to Runil Waslib either. Runil Waslib? I want to call him Runil Waslib from Rudel. Oh no, said Ron, staring horror-struck at the parchment. Don't say I'll have to write the whole thing out again. It's okay, we can fix it, said Hermione, pulling the essay towards her and taking out her wand. I love you, Hermione, said Ron, sinking back in his chair, rubbing his eyes wearily. The beast has come out. Hermione turned faintly pink, merely said, Don't let Lavender hear you say that. I won't, said Ron into his hands. Maybe I will. Then she'll ditch me. Why don't you ditch her if you want to finish it? Asked Harry. You haven't never chucked anyone, have you? Said Ron. You and Cho just sort of fell apart, yeah, said Harry. Wish that would happen with me and Lavender, said Ron gloomily, watching Hermione silently tapping each of his misspelled words with the end of her wand, so that they corrected themselves on the page. The more I hint I want to finish it, the tighter she holds on. Like going out with the giant squid. Yeah, I love Ron. There, said Hermione, some 20 minutes later, handing back Ron's essay. Thanks a million, said Ron. Can I borrow your quill for the conclusion? Harry, who had found nothing useful in the Half-Blood Prince's notes so far, looked around. So he just said, I love you, and then that was it? Nothing else? Nothing else? The three of them were now the only ones left in the common room. Seamus having just gone up to bed, cursing Snape and his essay. The only sounds were the crackling of the fire and Ron scratching out one last paragraph on Dementors, using Harry just closed the Half-Blood Prince's books, yawning, when crack! Hermione let out a little shriek. Ron spilled ink all over his essay, and Harry said, Creature! The house elf bowed low and addressed his own gnarled toes.
Master said he wanted regular reports on what the Malfoy boy is doing, so Creature has come to give.
Crack! Dobby appeared alongside Creature, his tea cozy hat askew. Dobby has been helping too, Harry Potter, he squeaked, casting Creature a resentful look. And Creature ought to tell Dobby when he is coming to see Harry Potter, so they can make the reports together. What is this? Asked Hermione, still looking shocked by these sudden appearances. What's going on, Harry? Harry hesitated before answering because he had not told Hermione about setting Creature and Dobby to tail Malfoy. House elves were always such a touchy subject with her. Well, they've been following Malfoy for me, he said.
Night and day,
croached Creature. Dobby has not slept for a week, Harry Potter, said Dobby proudly, swearing where he stood. Oh, man, that's funny. Hermione looked indignant. You haven't slept, Dobby? But surely Harry did... You didn't tell him to... No, of course I didn't, said Harry quickly. Dobby, you can sleep, all right? But has either of you found out anything? He hastened to ask before Hermione could intervene again.
Master Malfoy moves with a nobility that befits his pure blood,
croaked Creature at once.
His features recall the fine bones of my mistress, and his manners are those of...
Draco Malfoy is a bad boy, squeaked Dobby angrily. A bad boy who... He shuddered from the tassel of his tea cozy to the toes of his socks, and then ran at the fire as though about to dive into it. He's so suicidal all the time. Man. Harry, to whom this was not entirely unexpected, caught him around the middle and held him fast. For a few seconds, Dobby struggled, then went limp. Thank you, Harry Potter, he panted. Dobby still finds it difficult to speak ill of his old masters. Harry released him. Dobby straightened his tea cozy and said defiantly to Creature, But Creature knows that Draco Malfoy is not a good master to our house elf. Yeah, we don't need to hear you about being in love with Malfoy, Harry told Creature. Let's fast forward to where he's actually been going. Creature bowed again, looking furious, and then said,
Master Malfoy eats in the Great Hall. He sleeps in a dormitory in the dungeons. He attends his classes in a variety...
Dobby, you tell me, said Harry, cutting across Creature. Has he been going anywhere he shouldn't have? Harry Potter, sir, squeaked Dobby, his great orb-like eyes shining in the firelight. The Malfoy boy is breaking no rules that Dobby can discover, but he is still keen to avoid detection. He has been making regular visits to the 7th floor with a variety of other students who keep watch for him while he enters. Room of requirement, said Harry, smacking himself hard in the forehead with advanced potion-making. Hermione and Ron stared at him. That's where he's been sneaking off to. That's where he's doing... whatever he's doing. And I bet that's why he's been disappearing off the map. Come to think of it, I've never seen the Room of Requirement on there. Can somebody please remind me what the Room of Requirement was about? Again, there's just parts of the story that are still fuzzy to me because we've gone through so much. So, yeah, I don't remember. Maybe the Marauders never knew the room was there, said Ron. I think it'll be part of the magic of the room, said Hermione. If you need it to be unplottable, it will be. Oh, it's where they practice for Dumbledore's army. Right, thank you very much. It only appears when somebody needs it and where they had the DA meetings last year. Right, yeah, okay, great, thank you. Dobby, have you managed to get in to have a look at what Malfoy's doing? Said Harry eagerly. No, Harry Potter, that is impossible, said Dobby. No, it's not, said Harry at once. Malfoy got into our headquarters there last year, so I'll be able to get in and spy on him. No problem. But I don't think you will, Harry, said Hermione slowly. Malfoy already knew exactly how we were using the room, didn't he? Because that stupid Marietta had babbled. He needed the room to become the headquarters of the DA, so it did. But you don't know what the room becomes when Malfoy goes in there. So you don't know what to ask it to transform into. There'll be a way around that, said Harry dismissively. You've done brilliantly, Dobby. Creature's done well too, said Hermione kindly. But far from looking grateful, Creature averted his huge, bloodshot eyes and croaked at the ceiling.
The mudblood is speaking to Creature. Creature will pretend he cannot hear.
Get out of it, Harry snapped at him, and Creature made one last deep bow and disapparated. You better go and get some sleep too, Dobby. Thank you, Harry Potter, sir, squeaked Dobby happily, and he too vanished. How good's this? Said Harry enthusiastically, turning to Ron and Hermione the moment the room was elf-free again. We know where Malfoy's going. We've got him cornered now. Yeah. Great, said Ron glumly, who was attempting to mop up the sodden mass of ink that had recently been an almost completed essay. Hermione pulled it towards her and began siphoning the ink off with her wand. But what's all this about going up there with a variety of students? Said Hermione. How many people are in on it? You wouldn't think he trusts a lot of them to know what he's doing. Yeah, it is weird, said Harry, frowning. I heard him telling Crabbe it wasn't Crabbe's business what he was doing, so what he's telling all these... My first time live watching, JB. Hey, Glenn Lee, welcome in. Welcome to the first live. Happy to have you here. Here, have a cracker. Harry's voice tailed away. He was staring at the fire. God, I'm so stupid, he said quietly. It's obvious, isn't it? There's a great vat of it down in the dungeon. He could have nicked some any time during that lesson. Nicked what? Said Ron. Polyjuice potion. He stole some of the Polyjuice potion Slughorn showed us in our first potions lesson. There aren't a whole variety of students standing guard for Malfoy. It's just Crabbe and Goyle as usual. Yeah, it all fits, said Harry, jumping up and starting to pace in front of the fire. They're stupid enough to do what they're told, even if he won't tell them what he's up to. But he doesn't want them to be seen lurking around outside the room of requirement, so he's got them taking Polyjuice to make them look like other people. Those two girls I saw him with when he missed Quidditch. Crabbe and Goyle. Do you mean to say, said Hermione in a hushed voice, that little girl whose scales I repaired? Oh, crazy. Yeah, of course, said Harry loudly, staring at her. Of course! Malfoy must have been inside the room at the time, so she... What am I talking about? He dropped the scales to tell Malfoy not to come out because there was someone there. And there was that girl who dropped the toad spawn too. We've been walking past him all the time and not realizing it. He's got Crabbe and Goyle transforming into girls. Guffawed Ron. Blimey. No wonder they don't look too happy these days. I'm surprised they don't tell him to stuff it. Well, they wouldn't, would they? If he's shown them his dark mark. Okay. That's crazy. That was crazy. Hey, Chloe, welcome to you two. Welcome, Chloe. I like her name. I like the name Chloe a lot. Wow. Okay, new piece of info, huh? I still think that that Draco still went off and made up with the girl versions of Crabbe and Goyle. Oh. You know, Crabbe, I just want you to know that you're my best friend. And now that you, Goyle, are here as witness, you can join in too. My gosh, no longer big burly guys, but soft women. Yeah, you're welcome for that. I know. Oh gosh, oh geez, oh no, why? Please don't. You know you show up for it. You show up for those moments. Okay. Oh yeah. The dark mark we don't know exists, said Hermione. We don't know exists, said Hermione skeptically, rolling up Ron's dried essay before it could come to any more harm and handing it to him. We'll see, said Harry confidently. Yes, we will. We will, Hermione said, getting to her feet and stretching. But, Harry, before you get all excited, I still don't think you'll be able to get into the room of requirement without knowing what's there first. And I don't think you should forget. She heaved her bag onto her shoulder and gave him a very serious look. That's what you're supposed to be concentrating on, is getting that memory from Slughorn. Good night. Harry watched her go, feeling slightly disgruntled. Once the door to the girls' dormitories had closed behind her, he rounded at Ron. What do you think? Wish I could disapparate like a house elf, said Ron, staring at the spot where Dobby had vanished. And have that apparition test in the bag. Harry did not sleep well that night. Actually, I'm into this one, says Mark. I'm pretty important. Nobody says pretty sure that that fanfic is written. I can almost bet money. Why is Malfoy talking like a Valley girl? Because I said this, I think, in the first or second book when we read it. Because he's a Valley guy. That's what he is. He's always talking like this. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go! He did not sleep well that night. He lay awake for what felt like hours, wondering how Malfoy was using the room of requirements. You're concerning yourself with the wrong thing, dude! And what he, Harry, would see when he went in there the following day. For whatever Hermione said, Harry was sure that if Malfoy had been able to see the headquarters of the DA, he would be able to see Malfoy's. What could it be? A meeting place? A hideout? A storeroom? A workshop? Harry's mind worked feverishly, and his dreams, when he finally fell asleep, were broken and disturbed by images of Malfoy, who turned into Slughorn, who turned into Snape. Harry was in a state of great anticipation over breakfast the following morning. He had a free period before Defense Against the Dark Arts, and was determined to spend it trying to get into the room of requirement. Hermione was rather ostentatiously showing no interest in his whispered plans or forcing entry into the room, which irritated Harry, because he thought she might be a lot of help if she wanted to. Yep, Harry's an idiot. Dumbledore can't, that's what Thomas Roy said, Mark saying, Dumbledore can't make it any clearer how important this is. And Harry's like, but Draco. Yeah. Come on, dude. Ah, come on, dude. It's just so clear. Just so clear how important it was to Dumbledore. Dude. Okay. Look, he said quietly, leaning forwards and putting a hand on the Daily Prophet, which she had just removed from a post owl to stop her opening it and vanishing behind it. I haven't forgotten about Slughorn, but I haven't got a clue how to get that memory off him. And until I get a brainwave, why shouldn't I find out what Malfoy's doing? I've already told you. You need to persuade Slughorn, said Hermione. It's not a question of tricking him or bewitching him. Or Dumbledore could have done it in a second. Instead of messing around outside the room of requirement, she jerked the prophet out from under Harry's hand and unfolded it to look at the front page. You should go and find Slughorn and start appealing to his better nature. Anyone we know? Asked Ron as Hermione scanned the headlines. Yes, said Hermione, causing both Harry and Ron to gag on their breakfast. But it's all right. He's not dead. Mundungus. He's been arrested. It's Mundungus. He's been arrested and sent to Azkaban. Something to do with impersonating an Inferius during an attempted burglary. And someone called Octavius Pepper has vanished. Oh, and how horrible. My 9-year-old boy has been arrested for trying to kill his grandparents. They think he was under the Imperius curse. They finished their breakfast in silence. Hermione set off immediately for ancient rooms, Ron for the common room, where he still had to finish his conclusion on Snape's Dementor essay, and Harry for the corridor on the 7th floor, and the stretch of wall opposite the tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy teaching trolls to do ballet. alliteration. Drink. This is almost a double alliteration. Tapestry of Barnabas the Barmaid teaching trolls to do ballet. 3 B's, 3 T's. Harry slipped on his invisibility cloak once he had found an empty passage. But he need not have bothered. When he reached the destination, he found it deserted. Harry was not sure whether his chances of getting inside the room were better with Malfoy inside it or out, but at least his first attempt was not going to be complicated by the presence of Frabbé or Goyelle pretending to be an 11-year-old girl. He closed his eyes as he approached the place where the Room of Requirements door was concealed. He knew what he had to do. He had become most accomplished at it last year. Concentrating with all his might, he thought, I need to see what Malfoy's doing in there. I need to see what Malfoy's doing in here. I need to see what Malfoy's doing in here. 3 times he walked past the door. Then, his heart pounding with excitement, he opened his eyes and faced it. He was still looking at a stretch of mundanely blank wall. He moved forwards and gave it an experimental push. The stone remained solid and unyielding. Okay, said Harry aloud. Okay, I thought the wrong thing. He pondered for a moment, then set off again, eyes closed, concentrating as hard as he could. I need to see the place where Malfoy keeps coming secretly. I need to see the place where Malfoy keeps coming secretly. After 3 walks past, he opened his eyes expectantly. There was no door. Oh, come off it, he told the wall irritably. There was a clear instruction. Fine. He thought hard for several minutes before striding off once more. I need you to become the place you became for Draco Malfoy. He did not immediately open his eyes when he had finished his patrolling. He was listening hard, as though he might hear the door pop into existence. He heard nothing. However, except the distant twittering of the birds outside, he opened his eyes. There was still no door. Harry swore. Someone screamed. He looked around to see a gaggle of first-years running back around the corner, apparently under the impression that they just encountered a particularly foul-mouthed ghost. Harry tried every variation of, I need to see what Draco Malfoy is doing inside you, that he could think of for a whole hour, at the end of which he was forced to concede that Hermione might have had a point. The room simply did not want to open for him. Frustrated and annoyed, he set off for defense against the dark arts, pulling on his invisibility cloak and stuffing it into his bag as he went. Late again, Potter, said Snape coldly, as Harry hurried into the candlelit classroom. 10 points from Gryffindor. Harry scowled at Snoop as he flung himself into the seat beside Ron. Half the class was still on its feet, taking out books and organizing its things. He could not be much later than any of them. Before we start, I want your Dementor essays, said Snape, waving his wand carelessly, so that the 25 scrolls of parchment soared into the air and landed in a neat pile on his desk. And I hope for your sakes they are better than the tripe I had to endure on resisting the Imperious Curse. Now, if you will all open your books at page... What was it? What is it, Mr. Finnegan? Sir, said Seamus, I'm wondering, how do you tell the difference between an Inferius and a ghost? Because there was something in the Prophet about an Inferius. No, there wasn't, said Snape in a bored voice. But sir, I heard people talking. If you had actually read the article in question, Mr. Finnegan, you would have known that the so-called Inferius was nothing but a smelly sneak thief by the name of Mundungus Fletcher. But Snape and Mundungus were on the same side, muttered Harry to Ron and Hermione. Wouldn't he be upset Mundungus has been arrested? Real subtle, John. Thanks, Mark. Shouldn't he be upset Mundungus has been arrested? But Potter seems to have a lot to say on the subject, said Snape, pointing suddenly at the back of the room, his black eyes fixed on Harry. Let us ask Potter how we would tell the difference between an inferius and a ghost. The whole class looked round at Harry, who hastily tried to recall what Dumbledore had told him the night that they had gone to visit Slughorn. Well, ghosts are transparent, he said. Oh, very good, interrupted Snape, his lip curling. Yes, it is easy to see that nearly 6 years of magical education have not been wasted on you, Potter. Ghosts are transparent. I love it when he gets sarcastic like that. Oh, look at little Dex in there. Hey, buddy. Hey, bud. Pansy Parkinson let out a high-pitched giggle. Several other people were smirking. Harry took a deep breath and continued calmly, though his insides were boiling. Yeah, ghosts are transparent, but inferi are dead bodies, aren't they? Aren't they? So they'd be solid. A 5-year-old could have told us as much, sneered Snape. The inferius is a corpse that has been reanimated by a dark wizard's spell. It is not alive. It is merely used like a puppet to do the wizard's bidding. A ghost, as I trust you are all aware, I know, is the imprint of a departed soul left upon the earth, and of course, as Potter so wisely tells us, transparent. Okay, I just need to... Infurious occurs as reanimated of a dark wizard spell. Okay, not alive, is merely used like a puppet. Ghost is like an imprint. Okay, sure. I don't know why that's so important to write and read. Well, what Harry said is the most useful if we're trying to tell them apart, said Ron. When we come face to face with one down a dark alley, we're going to be having a shufty. Shufty? It's a shufty. A shufty to see if it's solid, aren't we? We're not going to be asking, excuse me, are you the imprint of a departed soul? Wow, he just spoke out. There was a ripple of laughter, instantly quelled by the look Snape gave the class. Another 10 points from Gryffindor, said Snape. I would expect nothing more sophisticated from you, Ronald Weasley. The boy is so solid, he cannot apparate half an inch across a room. No, whispered Hermione, grabbing Harry's arm as he opened his mouth furiously. There's no point. You'll just end up in detention again. Leave it. Now open your books. Page 213, said Snape, smirking a little, and read the first 2 paragraphs on the Cruciatus Curse. Ron was very subdued all through the class. Oh, shufty is a look in Britain. Oh, okay. Cool. Low blow, Snape. It was a good diss, Mel Chirel. Ron was very subdued all through the class. When the bell sounded at the end of the lesson, Lavender caught up with Ron and Harry. Hermione mysteriously melted out of sight as she approached, and abused Snape hotly for his jibe at Ron's apparition. But this seemed merely to irritate Ron, and he shook her off by making a detour into the boys' bathroom with Harry. Snape's right, though, isn't he? said Ron. No, Snape's right, though, isn't he? Said Ron, after staring into a cracked mirror for a minute or two. That's like that's like every single movie. You know, when you're like questioning yourself, you stare into a cracked mirror because there's 2 or 3 different versions of you. Like, who am I? Just leaning against it. I don't know whether it's worth me taking the test. Just can't get a hang of apparition. You might as well do the extra practice sessions in Hogsmeade and see where they get you, said Harry reasonably. It'll be more interesting than trying to get into a stupid hoop anyway. Then, if you're still not, you know, as good as you'd like to be, you can postpone the test. Do it with me over the Myrtle, this is the boys' bathroom! Myrtle's back! Oh, toilet time! My gosh!
When you gotta go, it's toilet time.
I just can't poop. Oh. I know, I forgot, and they were actually in the toilet room, which is also called the bathroom. Let's call it the toilet room from now on. Most of the series takes place in bathrooms, and I think anyone initially expects going in. That's true. Okay. The ghost of a girl had risen out of the toilet. Hey, Myrtle. Come here, buddy. No, he doesn't want to. In a cubicle behind them, and was now floating in midair, staring at them through thick, white, round glasses. She said glumly. It's you two. What were you expecting? Said Ron, looking at her in the mirror. Nobody, said Myrtle, picking moodily at a spot on her chin. He said he'd come back and see me, but then you said you'd pop in and visit me too. She gave Harry a reproachful look. And I haven't seen you for months and months. I've learned not to expect too much from boys. I thought you lived in that girls' bathroom, said Harry, who had been careful to give the place a wide berth for some years now. I did, Mark. I still haven't reconfigured my voice stuff. Yeah, I need to do that. I do, she said with a sulky little shrug. Well, let's see. Maybe it would work. I'm gonna press one of these. Let's see if it actually does it. No, it doesn't do it. Okay. She said with a sulky little shrug. But that doesn't mean I can't visit other places. I came and saw you in your bath once. Remember? Vividly, said Harry. But I thought he liked me, she said plaintively. Maybe if you two left, he'd come back again. We had lots in common. I'm sure he felt it. And she looked hopefully towards the door. When you say you had lots in common, said Ron, sounding rather amused now. You mean he lives in an S-bend too? No, said Myrtle defiantly, her voice echoing loudly around the old tiled bathroom. I mean he's sensitive. People bully him too. And he feels lonely and hasn't got anybody to talk to. And he's not afraid to show his feelings and cry. Why does this ghost so thirsty? She thirsty. There's been a boy in here crying, said Harry curiously. A young boy? Never you mind, said Myrtle, her small leaky eyes fixed on Ron, who was now definitely grinning. I promised I wouldn't tell anyone, and I'll take his secret to the... Not the grave, surely, said Ron with a snort. The sewers, maybe. Wow, that is mean, Ron. Myrtle gave a howl of rage and dived back into the toilet, causing water to slop over the sides and onto the floor. Goading Myrtle seemed to have put fresh heart into Ron. You're right, he said, swinging his school bag over his shoulder. I'll do the practice sessions in Hogsmeade before I decide about taking the test. And so the following weekend, Ron joined Hermione and the rest of the 6th years who would turn 17 in time to take the test in a fortnight. Harry, stop occupying yourself, dude, with this. Get the Slughorn, you idiot. Stupid Harry. Harry felt you just know. I don't know why it's frustrating me so much. Harry felt rather jealous watching them all get ready to go into the village. He missed making trips there. Wait, what? Remember the rest of you would turn 17 and take the test in a fortnight. He would miss making trips there, and it was particularly on this particularly fine spring day, one of the first clear skies they had seen in a long time. However, he decided to use the time to attempt another assault on the room of requirement. Why can't he go into the village? For what reason? I don't really understand that. Some history there. Ugh, again, another assault on the room of requirement, you dumb ass. You do better, said Hermione. Yes, listen to her, you numbskull, you nincompoop. When he confided this plan to Ron and her in the entrance hall, to go straight to Slughorn's office and try and get that memory from him. I've been trying, said Harry crossly, which was perfectly true. They cancelled Hogsmeade visits. To take trips to Hogsmeade because of what happened to Katie Bell. Yeah, but there's people going to Hogsmeade now, right? They're getting ready to go there. Why are they allowed to go there? Really? I've been trying, said Harry crossly, which is perfectly true. He had lagged behind after every potions lessons that week in an attempt to corner Slughorn, but the potions master always left the dungeon so fast that Harry had not been able to catch him. Okay, good. Okay, I'm happy about that. He has been trying. Good. I just thought he wasn't doing anything. Twice, Harry had gone to his office and knocked. Good! Okay, good. Okay, I'm not as mad anymore. Like, do something. But received no reply, though on the second occasion he was sure he had heard the quickly stifled sounds of an old gramophone. He doesn't want to talk to me, Hermione. He can tell I've been trying to get him on his own again, and he's not going to let it happen. Well, you've just got to keep at it, haven't you? The short queue of people waiting to file past Filch, who was doing his usual prodding act with a secrecy sensor, moved forwards a few steps, and Harry did not answer in case he was overheard by the caretaker. He wished Ron and Hermione luck, then turned and climbed the marble staircase again, determined, whatever Hermione said, to devote an hour or two to the room of requirement. They're going to Hogsmeade to do the test, but not have a fun time and hang with their friends like normal. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Once out of sight of the entrance hall, Harry pulled out the Marauder's map and his invisibility cloak from his bag. Having concealed himself, he tapped the map, murmured, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good, and scanned it carefully. You should be looking for Slughorn, you... As it was Sunday morning, nearly all the students were inside their various common rooms. The Gryffindors in one tower, the Ravenclaws in another, the Slytherins in the dungeons, and the Hufflepuffs in the basement near the kitchens. Here and there a stray person meandered around the library or up a corridor. There were a few people out in the grounds, and there, alone in the 7th floor corridor, was Gregory Goyle. GG. There was no sign of the room of requirement, but Harry was not worried about that. If Goyle was standing guard outside it, the room was opened. Whether the map was aware of it or not. He therefore sprinted up the stairs, slowing down only when he reached the corner into the corridor. When he began to creep, very slowly, towards the very same little girl, clutching her heavy brass scales that Hermione had so kindly helped a fortnight before. He waited until he was right behind her, before bending very low and whispered, Hello, you're very pretty, aren't you? Well, okay, it's not actually an actual little girl. For a second I was like, okay, Harry. But it's Goyle. Goyle gave a high-pitched scream of terror, threw the scales up into the air, and sprinted away, vanishing from sight long before... Why would you give yourself away like that? That don't make sense. Long before the sound of the scales smashing had stopped echoing around the corridor. Laughing, Harry turned to contemplate the blank wall behind, which, he was sure, Draco Malfoy was now standing frozen, aware that someone unwelcome was out there, but not daring to make an appearance. It gave Harry a most agreeable feeling of power, as he tried to remember what form of words he had not yet tried. Yet this hopeful mood did not last long. Half an hour later, having tried many more variations of his request to see what Malfoy was up to, the wall was just as doorless as ever. Harry felt frustrated beyond belief. Malfoy might be just feet away from him, and there was still not the tiniest shred of evidence as to what he was doing in there. Losing his patience completely, Harry ran at the wall and kicked it. Ouch! Never done that in my life. I don't understand why people run at walls and kick them. Or kick furniture. Never done it. I've thrown it, but I've never kicked it. He thought he might have broken his toe. Stupid. Why are you being so stupid in this chapter, Harry? As he clutched it and hopped on one foot, the invisibility cloak slipped off him. Harry? He spun around, one-legged, and toppled over. There, to his utter astonishment, was Tonks. Oh. Walking towards him as though she frequently strolled up this corridor. What are you doing here? He said. No, what are you doing here? He said, scrambling to his feet again. Why did she always have to find him lying on the floor? Harry Potter and the year he listened to no one and made stupid decisions. A bingo bango, Chloe. Sums it up. I came to see Dumbledore. Oh, no, I came to see Dumbledore, said Tonks. Harry thought she looked terrible. Thinner than usual. Oh no. Her mouse-colored hair lank. His office isn't here, said Harry. It's around the other side of the castle, behind the gargoyle. I know, said Tonks. He's not there. Apparently he's gone away again. Has he? Said Harry, putting his bruised foot gingerly back on the floor. Hey, you don't know where he goes, I suppose? No, said Tonks. What did you want to see him about? Nothing in particular, said Tonks, picking up apparently unconsciously at the sleeves of a robe. I just thought he might know what's going on. I've heard rumors. People getting hurt. Yeah, I know. It's all been in the papers, said Harry. Little kid trying to kill his... The prophet's often behind the times, said Tonks, who didn't seem to be listening to him. You haven't had any letters from anyone in the Order recently? No one from the Order writes to me anymore, said Harry. Not since Sirius. He saw that her eyes had filled with tears. I'm sorry, he muttered awkwardly. I mean... I miss him as well. What? Said Tonks blankly, as though she had not heard him. Well, I'll see you around, Harry. And she turned abruptly and walked away down the corridor. What's that about? Leaving Harry to stare after her. After a minute or so, he pulled the invisibility cloak on again and resumed his efforts to get into the room of requirement, but his heart was not in it. Finally, a hollow feeling in his stomach and the knowledge that Ron and Hermione would soon be back for lunch made him abandon the attempt and leave the corridor to Malfoy, who, hopefully, would be too afraid to leave for some hours to come. Harry gets too much hate, in my opinion, even if he's annoying sometimes. Hey, I think Harry gets a lot of love. You can be frustrated with somebody's decisions and still love him. You know? I think he's a great character. But he definitely makes some stupid decisions, and you can be annoyed at some of these stupid decisions. I don't know why, but this is a really dumb decision. Dumbledore absolutely told him that this is what he should be doing. And he deliberately disobeyed me. From the Lion King. Dumbledore. Not really. Poor Tonks, don't cry. He found Ron and Hermione in the Great Hall, already halfway through an early lunch. I did it! Well, kind of, Ron told Harry enthusiastically when he caught sight of him. I was supposed to be apparating to outside Madame Puttyfoot's tea shop, and I overshot it a bit, ended up near Scriven Shafts, but at least I moved. Oh, good one, said Harry. How'd you do, Hermione? Oh, she was perfect, obviously, said Ron, before Hermione could answer. Perfect deliberation, divination, and desperation, or whatever the hell it is. We all went for a quick drink in the Three Broomsticks after, and you should have heard Twycross going on about her. I'll be surprised if he doesn't pop the question soon. And what about you? Asked Hermione, ignoring Ron. Have you been up at the Room of Requirements all this time? Yep, said Harry. And guess who I ran into up there? Tonks. Tonks? Repeated Ron and Hermione together, looking surprised. Yeah, she said she'd come to visit Dumbledore. You ask me, said Ron, once Harry had finished describing his conversation with Tonks. He's cracking up a bit, losing a nerve after what happened at the Ministry. It's a bit odd, said Hermione, who for some reason looked very concerned. "She's supposed to be guarding the school. Why is she suddenly abandoning her post to come and see Dumbledore when he's not even here?" Oh, do people hate on Harry in book 5? I don't get that. Yeah, he's gone through trauma, and so somebody who's acting out makes a lot of sense. But in this book, it's just he's made some dumb choices, dumber than in 5. "I had a thought," said Harry tentatively. He felt strange about voicing it. This was much more Hermione's territory than his. "You don't think she can have been, in love with Sirius?" Oh, Hermione stared at him. "What on earth makes you say that?" "I don't know," said Harry, shrugging. "But she was nearly crying when I mentioned his name, and her Patronus is a big four-legged thing now. I wondered whether it hadn't become, him." "The thought," said Hermione slowly, "I still don't know why she'd be bursting into the castle to see Dumbledore. If that's really why she was here." "Goes back to what I said, doesn't it?" said Ron, who was now shoveling mashed potato into his mouth. "She's gone a bit funny. Lost her nerve. Women," he said wisely to Harry. "They're easily upset." Ron, you think you know the world, don't you? Man, oh man. Keep shoveling mashed potatoes into your mouth. "And yet," said Hermione, coming out of her reverie, "I doubt you'd find a woman who skulked for half an hour because Madame Rosemerta didn't laugh at their joke about the hag, the healer, and the Mimbulus Mimbletonia." Ron scowled. End of chapter. Okay, we've got 5 minutes left. So, I don't know. Should I start and then stop in the middle in like 10 minutes into this chapter or what? Shut up, Ron. Keep talking, Mr. Emotional Range of a Teaspoon. Why would you, as a parent, let your 9-year-old read past Harry Potter 2? Why not? That's the question. Why not? Reminds that a lot of people read book 5 when they were much younger than 15. Teen angst is weird to read at the age of 9. Huh, I never thought about that. Yeah, when you're younger, you're like reading it and being like, what are they talking about? Why are they acting this way? Please continue. Go along, keep going. Don't stop 4 pages into a chapter, just commit to another chapter. I will not commit to another chapter, but I'll read a little bit. Okay? I'll read a little bit. I won't be going for too long today. Not today, world. But I'll go a bit longer, all right? I hope you're all so happy. Chapter 22. After the burial. Am I gonna die? The burial? I hope nobody dies. Patches of bright blue sky. I'm not in a very anticipatory happy mood. Patches of bright blue sky were beginning to appear over the castle's turrets. But these signs of approaching summer did not lift Harry's mood. He'd been thwarted, both in his attempts to find out what Malfoy was doing and his efforts to start a conversation with Slughorn that might lead, somehow, to Slughorn handing over the memory he had apparently suppressed for decades.
John's voice is dry, he needs to voice it with some water.
For the last time, just forget about Malfoy, Hermione told Harry firmly. Yes, listen to her. They were sitting with Ron in a sunny corner of the courtyard after lunch. Hermione and Ron were both clutching a Minister of Magic leaflet, common apparition mistakes and how to avoid them, where they were taking their tests that very afternoon. But by and large, the leaflets had not proved soothing to the nerves. Ron gave a start and tried to hide behind Hermione as a girl came around the corner. It isn't lavender, said Hermione wearily. Oh, good, said Ron, relaxing. Harry Potter, said the girl. I was asked to give you this. Oh, thanks. Harry's heart sank as he took the small scroll of parchment. Once the girl was out of earshot, he said, Dumbledore said we wouldn't be having any more lessons until I get the memory. Maybe he wants to check on how you're doing, suggested Hermione, as Harry unrolled the parchment. But rather than finding Dumbledore's long, narrow, slanting writing, he saw an untidy sprawl, very difficult to read due to the presence of large blotches on the parchment where the ink had run. Okay, I'm going to... Oh, Hagrid. Yeah.
Dear Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Aragog died last night.
Oh, man. No. I mean, I don't feel bad about Aragog. I feel bad about Hagrid.
Harry and Ron, you met him, and you know how special he was. Hermione, I know you'd have liked him. It would mean a lot to me if you'd nip down to the burial later this evening. I'm planning on doing it round dusk. That was his favourite time of day. I know you're not supposed to be up that late, but you can use the cloak. Wouldn't ask, but I can't face it alone. Hagrid.
Oh, poor guy. With this, said Harry, handing the note to Hermione. Oh, for heaven's sake, she said, scanning it quickly and passing it to Ron, who read it through looking increasingly incredulous. He's mental, he said furiously. That thing told its mates to eat Harry and me. Told them to help themselves, and now Hagrid expects us to go down there and cry for its horrible hairy body. It's not just that, said Hermione. He's asking us to leave the castle at night. He knows security's a million times tighter, and how much trouble we'd be in if we were caught. We've been down to see him by night before, said Harry. Yes, but something like this, said Hermione. We risk a lot to help Hagrid out, but after all, Aragog's dead. For a question of saving him, I want to go even less, said Ron firmly. You didn't meet him, Hermione. Believe me, being dead will have improved him a lot. Harry took the note back and stared down at the inky blotches all over it. He was crying while he was writing it. Oh. Tears had clearly fallen thick and fast upon the parchment. Harry, you can't be thinking of going, said Hermione. It's such a pointless thing to get detention for. Harry sighed. Yeah, I know, he said. I suppose Hagrid will have to bury Aragog without us. Yes, he will, said Hermione, looking relieved. Look, potions will be almost empty this afternoon, with us all off doing our tests. Try and soften Slughorn up a bit then. 57th time lucky, I think, Harry bitterly. Lucky, said Ron suddenly. Harry, that's it. Get lucky. What do you mean? Use your lucky potion. Ron, that's it, said Hermione, sounding stunned. Of course. Why didn't I think of it? Harry stared at them both. Felix Felicis? He said. I don't know. I'm sort of saving it. What for? Demanded Ron incredulously. What on earth is more important than this memory, Harry? Asked Hermione. Harry did not answer. The thought of that little golden bottle had hovered on the edges of his imagination for some time. Vague and unformulated plans that involved Ginny splitting up with Dean, and Ron somehow being happy to see her with a new boyfriend, had been fermenting in the depths of his brain, unacknowledged except during dreams or the twilight time between sleeping and waking. Harry, are you still with us? Asked Hermione. What? Yeah, of course, he said, pulling himself together. Well, okay. If I can't get Slughorn to talk this afternoon, I'll take some Felix and have another go this evening. That's decided then, said Hermione briskly, getting to her feet and performing a graceful pirouette. Destination? Determination, liberation, she muttered. Stop that, Ron begged her. I feel sick enough as it is. Quick, hide me! It isn't Lavender, said Hermione impatiently, as another couple of girls appeared in the courtyard. Ron dived behind her. Cool, said Ron, peering over Hermione's shoulder to check. Blimey. They don't look happy, do they? They're the Montgomery sisters, and of course they don't look happy. Did you hear what happened to their little brother? Said Hermione. Losing track of what's happening to everybody's relatives, to be honest, said Ron. Well, their brother was attacked by a werewolf. The rumor is that their mother refused to help the Death Eaters. Anyway, the boy was only 5, and he died in St. Mungo's. Couldn't save him. He died? Repeated Harry, shocked. But surely werewolves don't kill, they just turn you into one of them. They sometimes kill, said Ron, who looked unusually grave now. Heard of it happening when the werewolf gets carried away. What was the werewolf's name? Said Harry quickly. Well, the rumor is that it was that Fenrir Greyback, said Hermione. I knew it! The maniac who likes attacking kids. The one Lupin told me about, said Harry angrily. Hermione looked at him bleakly. Harry, you've got to get that memory, she said. It's all about stopping Voldemort, isn't it? These dreadful things that are happening are all down to him. The bell rang overhead in the castle, and both Hermione and Ron jumped to their feet, looking terrified. You'll do fine, Harry told them both, as they headed towards the entrance hall to meet the rest of the people taking their apparition test. Good luck. And you too, said Hermione with a significant look, as Harry headed off to the dungeons. I'm ending there. Okay. Still all a mystery. Still all a mystery. What was Tonks doing there? What was Tonks doing there? Okay. I am...
Idiot. It's time for John's premonition.
She is meeting up with Draco. She's absolutely meeting up with Draco. Was Tonks a Slytherin? Or what was Tonks? What class is she? I'm thinking... Ah, man. Maybe Tonks... Why is she so... Okay, so first of all, I think Tonks is meeting with Draco. That's what I'm premonitioning. But why is she so gaunt looking? Why is she so unhealthy? What is going on with her? I don't really understand that part of it. Hufflepuff. She's a Hufflepuff. She is his cousin. Oh, Tonks is Draco's cousin after all. Okay, so she is... Maybe she is... She realizes how he can go down the dark path. Maybe she's training him. She is training Draco. That's all I got right now. Hey, buddy. Come here. Come here, buddy. Come on. Extra wants to say goodbye. We will be back tomorrow. Hey, buddy. And we will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Construction? Do you think Ron and Hermione will pass their apparition test? Yes, I do. I think all 3 of them will pass. Isn't this like an old TV show? What is Draco doing? Will Harry have to use the potion? Why was Tonks there? That's a good idea, important nobody. Maybe I will. I'm thinking, how should I end this? Well, goodbye. See you tomorrow. So I will take your suggestion right now, important nobody. Here we go. Oldest TV show. What is Draco doing? Will Harry have to use the potion? Why was Tonks there? Find out next time on the exciting conclusions of Construction Corner, aka Conk's Corner. See you tomorrow.